You're up.
Thank you very much, Scott, and thank you, Simon. I was so excited about this. I was actually texting Kathy last night to make sure I was in queue for questions. So your LinkedIn game is unreal. And as Scott said, I mean you're like an outlier's outlier. I have two quick questions. Well, one's quick. What's your favorite video game?
My video game, I gotta say, is Mario. I grew up with Mario.
All right.
I had the first Nintendo, and so that was very much part of my upbringing.
Okay. All right. The deeper question here. So you talk about, you're finding your life's purpose, right? And or your life's work, right? And you talked about motivation versus inspiration. Do you feel like an individual has the opportunity, no matter what their work is to really figure out how to utilize their purpose and
Mm.
therefore create their own inspiration without necessarily having to change the actual, work or job that they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I got the question, Andrew. So if I'm hearing correctly, so how does someone find more purpose in the work they do without changing the work itself? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, and sort of create your own inspiration within.
Absolutely. Great question. I mean, I think we are moving more and more. I mean, we're still yet to get there, but I think we're moving more into a world where hopefully employers are realizing that you cannot box people into a title. And that if we want to get the full potential of an employee, we have to access the whole person. And I'll give an analogy first, and I'll come back to answering the question, if I may, Andrew. So one of the questions I tend to get asked a lot on podcasts is, Simon, who are your inspirations when it comes to business? And for me, it's not the typical names you might hear. We might hear the Elon Musks, the Richard Bransons, the Naval Ravikants, and so on. For me, it's a company and it's a person. So the first company is Apple, and the second person is The Rock. And I'll tell you why. If you look at Apple, you go back to the 1980s. Now, if you were investing in Apple stock, you would consider them or categorize them as a computer company. That's how we would segment the company. Fast forward to today, Apple does watches, televisions, phones, the whole lot. Would you still categorize them as a computer company? Probably not. I mean, a lot of people might say they're a lifestyle brand, but what they've done is they've transcended their title. They've gone beyond just being a computer company. If we look at The Rock, you go back to how The Rock became The Rock. He made his name through being a wrestler. Now you look at The Rock today, he's a producer, director, he's an actor, he's an investor. He launches different business brands. He's a brand. He's turned himself into a brand. You cannot define him by a title. And so if I bring this back to the work side of things, the way that we can find purpose in work is to understand how do we bring what's unique about us into our work. Because if you can bring what's unique about you into your work, that is what is going to make you stand out. It's why some of you, when we think about superheroes, it is why some of you might prefer one superhero over another. Now, the reason we might prefer one superhero over another is more often than not because of their origin story. You connect with something of their origin story. And you might say, hey, I really like how Spider-Man became Spider-Man or how Batman became Batman. And there's something in that story that resonates with you personally. And that's why you find an affinity with a certain character. And it's the same with us. If we can bring our story, our strengths into what we do as work, that's how we create purpose. If speaking is your strength, find a way that you can bring speaking into your work more. I was coaching someone at Salesforce, and he said, Simon, I love going outside of work to these events and conferences and expanding my network. I love learning from other people. But when I get to work, I feel like I can't really share this with my colleagues. I'm not sure how to share this with my colleagues because it's so different to what I do at work. And so what happened over time is we came up with a way on how he could integrate the two. And the way he did that is he simply suggested to one of his managers, how about we create a lunch and learn where I can bring some of the people I'm connecting to outside of work into our company to share their thoughts with us so we can learn from different people, different leaders outside of our industry. I mean, I was one of the people he brought in, but he brought in other people. And what happened is his career skyrocketed. And the reason is because he started to show his colleagues and his employers that he had this incredible network outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
Before long, his bosses said, hey Cyrus, next time you've got someone into your hot seat, can we recommend you someone from our network as well? And so suddenly you got all of these emails and messages recommending him people to bring into the fireside chat. So you've got to find out how can you bring your strengths and what comes naturally to you into your work, because it's going to make it far more fun and enjoyable. And that's how that brings meaning and purpose.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
So
Andrew.
good.